Hey, we're coming at you live for another episode of The Weekly Pint. Not an episode because it's not a show. It's the show that isn't a show. It's a weekly live stream or it's an excuse to hang out and have a drink with each other. Marco, welcome back. We missed you last week. Drinking garage beer. I finally restocked my garage beer, but that is not what I'm drinking. Actually, I haven't opened you can see the other beer. It's supposed to be out of frame, so you don't know I'm drinking two beers at once. I'm going to be drinking, although you can't really see it in this light. I'm still working on the lighting setup here. Maiden Flight from Dogberry. I'll open that in a second. We're back at it. Well, I guess we're semi back at it. The world is slowly getting back to some kind of normalcy, and tap rooms aren't open. Patios are open. Tap rooms are open this week, and here we go. We'll see if we're able to get back to normal. Phone lines are open if anybody wants to call in and take part that way. The number is on your screen. Strawberry frosted. The new frosted, the key lime frosted, I still have not gotten a hold of yet, and I'm really kind of antsy to try it. I probably won't like it as much as I hope I will, because I don't like the milkshake beers, so that causes a little bit of a problem with it. But I freaking love key lime, and pretty much every key lime beer that I've ever had, I've been a big fan of. So I have high hopes for it. Stage 2 of the studio lighting is in effect now. As you can see, I still need to fill in a little bit of the gaps over there on the labels on the wall. But we're slowly working on it by drinking as much as possible. And this one will get added to the wall. Family is still thumping around upstairs, so if you hear noise in the background, that's what that is. This, if anybody is curious, that I'm finishing up is Zango from Rheingeist. It's one of their cider, not ciders. It's an ale with... It's not sitting in front of me, and I doubt I have the notes in my computer for it. Zango. Let's see. Nothing found. It's a cider, non-cider. I guess I could Google it here real quick just to let you know about it. I wasn't prepared because I wasn't really drinking it. I had a few of them that I packed yesterday. We went to my wife's parents' house yesterday to kind of hang out for the day, and I packed a few of these in the cooler. Because we were sitting outside, and it was freaking delicious. There's always one flavor of any style that you find it like, because I think that's probably true. Key lime frosted may be the one that I fall in love with. Zango is an ale with apple, mango, tangerine. Their notes say mango magic, apple, mango, and tangerine merge. Zango. A delightfully refreshing concoction appears from behind the curtain, enchantingly crisp, alluringly tart, and sparkling with notes of citrus and tropical fruit. Zango dazzles palates with liquid legerdemain. I don't even know what that is. Is that a real word? 5%. Seasonal. It's around from March until June, so it's still on shelves for a little bit if you guys want to try it. I don't know how everybody feels about ciders versus beers, or if anybody really cares. There was a big kerfuffle a couple years back that ciders were the future of the non-beer drinkers' drink in this world, and it turned out to be seltzer. Who would have known? I don't know. I have found a couple ciders that I tried that I absolutely loved, but the majority of them I'm just, whatever. And this is kind of what, not that it's not good, but it's just, whatever. I'll drink it, but I'm never gonna like run around like desperate to grab a hold of the next 6-pack of it. But it is good. I should have plugged. Sorry, I've got an iPad here that's at 26%, so we'll see if it dies. If it dies, well, we'll figure that out. I can probably manage with something. I have enough different devices in front of me that actually all I need it for is to play outro music, really, and to see notes, but I don't really need notes. But we should crack open my other beer because I really want to dig into this one. I do want to talk about the opening of patios or the opening of tap rooms or whatever that may be. Everybody, well, I shouldn't say everybody, a large majority of our local breweries are either open in some capacity or are very close to getting open in some capacity. As we make that turn into not even normalcy, into a drive towards normalcy, maybe. I don't know. But Friday was the official day where you could go grab a beer on a patio or dinner on a patio, I guess, also. And this Thursday, we go back to being able to go inside our tap rooms to have a beer. So that's the excitement this week. Shane, how are you? So Friday, I managed to get out. I had a action-packed day of grocery shopping and all kinds of other excitement. And within that day of excitement, I managed to stop at 2 breweries and grab a couple of beers. So I stopped at March 1st and I stopped at Dogberry. I've been able to snag a lot of March 1st beer on shelves locally as this has all been going on. But Dogberry, it's been really tough for me to get over there or to get their beer because they don't really distribute to any real capacity, which is a shame because I love what they're doing. So as soon as I was able to get back over to the tap room, that's what I did. I ran over and I had a couple beers and brought home some also because I needed to. You know how it goes. There's a call coming in. Hang on, let me make sure we're active here. Hello, who is this?
Well, hello, Gnome. How are you, buddy? This
I'm
is Marco.
good. Marco, how are you?
Doing great. Having a garage beer. Just got home with some Mexican food. I was sitting on a patio. By the way, I heard you them mentioning that the patios are open, and I thought I'd give my firsthand account of the fact that I was on a patio last night and tonight.
Different patios?
Even though different patios, different establishments. The one tonight was unique because there's a monsoon outside, and I was the only person on the patio. And there was a lot of rain and water. But I said, I'm gonna find a patio, and I did. I found a patio at a Mexican restaurant, and I got the one table that wasn't getting totally drenched, and I placed a to-go order, and I left a healthy tip. And what was funny is when I got home, I was missing something from my order, and so they said, you placed an order, to-go order, and I said, yeah, I was the guy on the patio. And they said, well, where were you at? I was like, I was the only guy on the patio. So, but anyways, I had to go back and get the rest of the order. But
so
yeah, and so
your experience tonight was that there were not very many people on the patio. What about your experience?
No, just me and my many personalities. And then yesterday I did go to Hoppin' Vines.
Oh yes,
yes, and I sat on the patio there, which I did encounter a few BC's mug clubbers at the same time. Um,
Hop and Vines
so
has really dove into making sure that they were ready for the patio drinking experience too. They put up some tents and all kinds of stuff to make sure that
yes,
even if it did rain, that people would be able to come and hang out. And so I'm curious to
yes.
on a night like tonight if they were busy.
Well, I mean the patio that they have connected to the building is fine,
Right.
and then they did put up a tent. There wasn't a need for overflow to the tent last night, but I would say they were close to social distancing capacity yesterday at the time when I was there. But it there wasn't really a whole lot of other people coming up. And
Right.
by the way, I mean Sunday and Monday are the two, you know, slowest days for this kind of stuff. I mean, it's proven true, I guess, in at least my experience that
But
over the past few days, like Sundays and Mondays, it's they're slow,
right.
and Hop and Vines is even closed today, so you couldn't go sit on the patio, and a place like BC's is closed today, so
I just
you couldn't go sit on the patio.
I'm always curious, like, well, not always. I've been curious with all of this going on that now that places are opening back up, are the same days going to be the busy days versus the slow days? Does that still translate, or is it just a whole new game and nobody really knows from day to day what things are going to be like? Because people are
Well,
just desperate to get out
for
sometimes, you know?
I don't disagree, and what we've seen is that's the case. But as things are, evolving, so retail could open up by appointment only a little bit over a week ago, and
Right.
then retail opened up. And so what we're finding is, at least from what we experienced at Valley Vineyard Cellar Dweller, is that leading up to that, every weekday was far bigger than a typical weekday, which was
Right.
great. However, the weekends were far less than a typical weekend because you're just you're not open. It's to go and food to go food and drink whatnot. But the Mondays had been crushing same sales over Monday, but we're getting a little bit more closer to, even though we're ahead on weekdays, we're getting a little closer to sort of uh, not marginally, but better than typical,
Right.
but not what it's been over the past few weeks. I think because people are just settling into
Right.
different habits, maybe going back to work, or altering. We're also running into where the homeschools are ending, and so maybe people are deciding to venture a little bit. I mean, because depending on the state that you might want to seek recreation at, they may be open. The beaches may be open. The
Right.
campgrounds may be open. You may be willing to take the risk to go see family members and whatnot. And so some of that's a little fluid there. But um,
my
so
my
we'll
experience
see.
and my experiences have been just um and again, I only went out the one day on Friday, but um it was pretty busy. Like, not to the level of, I mean, we've all seen the pictures that were being passed around on social media of some of the bars in OTR and what was going on, but like there was definitely a crowd of people out just desperate to get out of the house. And again, that was a Friday. Um, so I don't know, and I don't know if it's, as people start going back to work, if things are going to change, if as the almost the novelty of being able to go back out wears off, if it'll change. But um,
Well, I can also speak from the typical retail perspective. When retail was able to open up on that Tuesday, I mean, we did what we would do on typically like a holiday Friday.
Wow.
on that day. I mean, and for several days after that. I mean, today, as an example, today was about 25% above LY, but it was the calmest day we've had since retail had opened back up. So I mean, people are still getting out. People are still spending money. People still, want to. It wasn't today. It wasn't that sort of burst of release of, oh my God, I just got to get out. I've
Right.
got this pent up, angry sort of need
Well, and
to be out. But it's still good. It's still really good.
I don't know if it's different for retail versus the for the drinking establishments, but I think it's easier. Like if you just, it's like, God, I just got to get out of the house. I just need to go do something. If it's easier just to go grab a beer somewhere, on a whim versus going out and frequenting some kind of store that you needed to go to, or you were planning on doing at some point, and today becomes that day. I don't know. I think
Well, I
the
think we're gonna. I think
unpredictability I think is going to hit with the tap rooms and restaurants more than it does the retail stuff.
well, yes. As once Thursday comes around, we'll see. I mean, as an example, I really wanted to support a business that had a patio open, even though it was pouring down rain, and I had to find a small Mexican restaurant. I called a couple of establishments, and they actually had opened over the weekend
Right.
and changed their plans. I'm going to go ahead and name a name. Firehouse Grill. They opened over
Yeah.
the weekend. They had a bunch of tents. I called them today. I said, I know it's raining. I know you opened over the weekend. Is it at least good enough for me to go out there and sit and have a drink and order some to go food? And they said, actually, we just made the decision to not open till Thursday.
Was that because of the rain, do you think, or and this
I
is you
don't know.
speculating?
I my speculation is, number one, I haven't seen the weather forecast,
It's
and number two,
about this all week, I
today's
think.
nasty.
I think it's supposed to be that way all
Yeah,
week.
today's nasty. So if today is any indication up until Thursday, then they probably were like, it's not worth the effort, I would imagine.
Yeah, and
You know,
when I
so
when I went out on Friday, the forecast said that we were supposed to get rain most of that day. So I grabbed a raincoat and I made sure I had flip flops on. So if I had to sit in the rain out on a patio and drink, that it would be still fairly comfortable. And I was fully prepared to sit in pouring rain and just drink because I don't know if there was something that there might be something that's fun about that too, about finally getting out into the world and it being something that isn't that normal kind of comfortable sitting in the sun drinking. It's that story to tell people, oh, remember when coronavirus shut everything down and then it started back up and it was raining outside, we went and we sat on a patio and still drank, like some kind of experience behind that. I don't know.
no, I I completely agree. I had a feeling of success when I found a patio open. I was the only one there, and it was raining, and of course the rain got on me, even though I had a raincoat, and it was starting to turn. It was cold, and I was still happy because I got to sit on an establishment's patio and order some to-go food and have a drink. I don't know what that says about me, and keep your opinions to yourself. But I get it. I think things are. We'll see. We will see. I think I definitely have seen, in my experience at least, because I have worked in the tasting room as well, not just brew beer. For Valley Vineyards, people want to get out.
Oh yeah.
People are tired of this mess. They want to get out. They want to socialize, and they want to be responsible amongst themselves for the most part. But I think everybody is ready to let natural selection happen to a degree.
Well, wasn't the whole point?
I mean,
not to get political about it, because you can, as soon as you start talking about this, people assume you're leaning one way or another. But wasn't the whole point to flatten the curve, quote unquote, um, and then get back to the way things are, the way things work, the way businesses still have to operate at some point. Uh, we've proven that we flattened
Yeah,
the curve, not that we're out of the woods, and not that things aren't still happening out there, but at some point places have to open back up or else they go away.
yeah. Let's do it, and we are doing it. It's
Well,
going to happen. I just, I don't pass any judgment on any business on how they choose to approach this, whether it's very cautiously and not opening up right away, or whether it's a business that feels like us at Valley Vineyard, we feel like, you know what, we can do it, and
right.
and we can do it right, and let's do it. Come on, I mean,
Well,
what, to each their own, and it's
this episode,
we'll
this upcoming week's episode of Cincy Brewcast is the first one where we've got to talk to somebody since they were in the middle of really planning that reopening process. 50 West a little bit, but we talked to Mount Carmel, and Mount Carmel's plan was to wait and open in June. But then as all of this kind of started developing and they started kind of planning, they just decided, this is ridiculous. Look at our space. We can do this, before that. So they're opening up this week on Thursday. And so he was, we talked very early this morning. It was I think the very first episode I've ever done of Cincy Brewcast with coffee instead of beer. and
Wow.
and they, he had trucks coming in bringing food to restock the cooler, and get everything kind of ready to roll again. And the conversation of how do you plan for something that you don't really know what it's going to look like, it fascinates me, in a not in a fun way, because it's a scary kind of concept to think you could open up your kitchen and you could have 5 people come sit on your patio, or you could have 150 people filling your place. You just don't know. And that
well, that's in the very short term, right? I mean, we're talking about
is it in the short term
now,
though?
and then
that
well,
could be a longer term thing.
What I mean by that is sort of a phase one or a step one in this whole, other, dominoes to fall in the future.
Right.
As an example, I mean, yes, we're going to be allowed to have indoor seating, and we can have outdoor seating, and so on and so forth. But the vast majority of us in the, the breweries or wineries or craft beer business, all that other stuff, we have events that are social events, and we're not allowed to have entertainment either.
Right.
Now, you may have heard or seen on Facebook where people were saying, hey, so-and-so is going to perform, and that's not allowed.
Right.
That's still not allowed. And so for us, the June Wine and Beer Festival has to basically be canceled. We are expecting to be able to have our Oktoberfest in September. But are we? Are we going to be able to?
Yeah.
I mean, what does all of that mean for all of us, where we have, and, live entertainment, and you have, trivia, and you have all these other things, all these, artists and groups that depend, this is how they make their livelihood. I mean, you can socially distance or not dance and still have live entertainment, and yet we're not allowed to do any of that yet. And so, when are those going to be allowed? We used to do a partnership with. Go ahead.
No, I've talked to a lot of places that are frustrated with that whole idea of somebody coming in and telling them, just a blanket statement of, you can't do this. You can't have live music, or you can't have people in your tap room, or you can't have, these blanket statements, instead of saying, here's our recommendations of how to be safe. Here's the guidelines of what is safe. Now find a way to make it work for you. And if you've got a very large, if you're Rheingeist, you could fill your tap room right now and keep people spaced out pretty good and be safe about it because it's a huge room. That you could be inside and still be safe. If you have
Absolutely.
if you are Valley Vineyards and you want to have a wine festival and you cap it at a certain number of people, you can still be safe and do that. But this blanket statement of just no, you can't do it is what is driving, I think, a lot of people crazy.
Look, I mean, I may have said it before, either in text or on the show. I mean, and certainly, we'll never know if we did too much, but we'll certainly know if we didn't do enough.
Right.
And I get it. But on the same hand, I really feel like if we were allowed to use the guidelines to guide the way that we do our business, I don't see why we couldn't open responsibly to these other things. I mean, there's no reason that you can't. If you can space tables out for dinner service, how come you can't space tables out for trivia?
Right.
If you can space tables out for dinner service, how come you can't space tables out and have live music, just no dance floor? I mean,
if you can have people sitting around in a room listening to music playing over speakers loudly, why can't you have somebody standing on the other side of the room playing a guitar that same volume? Like, it's the same thing. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, I understand.
I think it comes from a good place. I don't think it's coming from a bad place on the government side of things, but it's just this, again, it's that blanket statement trying to make one very simple kind of Band-Aid rule that just sticks on top of everything and be like, everybody just do this because we don't know how else to do anything.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And look, I mean, I can't fault, I can't put too much fault because, I mean, once in 100 years sort of thing. I mean, we're all trying to figure this out together, but
Right.
I would have thought that, when the powers that be put together committees and talk about these things, I mean, clearly they have well thought out guidelines for everything that's been going on right now. I mean, why do we have to leave all of these other things out? Even though they're not necessarily as essential, but then again, you get into, are they or aren't they? Whose opinion is it or isn't it?
Right.
I mean, to have music is one of those things that is just, I mean, I personally feel like you can't call it non-essential.
Well, if we talked about this on the Fretboard episode, which is up. Was that this week's show? My time frame is
I'm about halfway through it. It's today. I'm about halfway through it.
We did talk about kind of the artist side of things. Like, we all know that we should be out supporting local bars and local restaurants and tap rooms and things like that with takeout and however else we can. Yet there isn't a lot of that discussion of musicians where not only are they in that same boat where they got shut down. There's not an easy way to support those people. There's not an easy way to support somebody who, makes their money from being out performing places that can't get out and perform places. They're feeling this too, like in a lot of ways worse than these places that we're talking about supporting until we're blue in the face. There's a whole other aspect of this that is interesting, and I won't name names, but there are definitely places around town that are kind of giving the middle finger to all of this and just kind of stretching the rules when they want to. When I was out and about on Friday, I saw several places where there were people inside eating dinner, lots of people inside eating dinner, just because they didn't want to tell them no. and, uh, and not that
Well,
not that I necessarily fault people. If you have to do something, you do it. Um, but that's going to keep going on too. There are breweries around town that I love that have kind of twisted things a little bit and pushed the side of what is legal and what is not, just um, to get a little scrappy in all of this. Again, not that I fault it, but it is happening, and that's going to keep happening too. If you are a bar and you need to get people in your door, and you're not supposed to have live music, in the same way that some of those people don't pay their ASCAP or that kind of stuff, bills when they're supposed to, when people are playing music, you sure as shit better bet that they're going to have people in there playing music just to get people in the door if they have to.
Well, I agree, and honestly, I mean, it's up to them. I'm not, I'm going to be very midland on my opinion. What I would say is, you do what's right for you, and I'm not going to, besmirch you for deciding to skirt a line or maybe bend a rule, or, I mean, in some cases break it. I mean, look, we're all going through this, and, you figure it out for you. And, I'm not one of those people who's going to drive by a business and feel compelled to, call somebody because I happen to see, people being too close to each other, or,
Sure.
a person playing a guitar. I'm not going to do that. But I mean, on the same hand, each business makes their own decision, and do it.
But if you're that bar, if you're that bar next door to a place that says, F it, we're going to have live music, and you're trying to abide by the rules, it might be a little harder to just kind of look the other way too.
I don't disagree with that. And for Valley Vineyard, there's the closest in any way competition we have is the gas station, down the road,
right,
called the Vibrant Express, which I don't even know, what does that even mean. And then, about 5 miles down the road, we have the Monkey Bar, and I've heard rumors. I haven't driven by there, but that's a cool place. And hey, whatever you got to do,
right.
So once things loosen up, I hope we have a lot of positive and good coming out of this. But I can tell you, I mean, people are tired of being pent up. People are tired of, I mean, the people that don't online shop are ready to get out and spend money. All of us that have not been able to continue our typical routines of, sitting at a place and trying a beer or trying a different beer, or, socializing. And we don't have to socialize necessarily, a 6-inch bar stool away from each other.
Right.
I mean, we can do that. We can do that responsibly.
Even just so, one of my stops on Friday, I was definitely socializing with people, a fairly close distance, safe distance, but having conversations with people. Whereas my second stop, a good chunk of the time I was there, I was just sitting on a patio, just having a beer, sitting. It was sunny at the time, and just being a part of being on a patio with people drinking, just like the sound of it and the feeling of it is something that I desperately missed. So it was still just as okay to do that, like just to be out. My poor wife has left the house, I think, probably twice, maybe 3 times since, like, the
doctor's appointments and to give birth.
Yeah, like since like March, maybe like early March. Like it's been a really long time since she's like even, gone to a grocery store, and like, that I can't imagine like trying to not go insane. Like I have to get out every so many days just to do something, even if it's just to, go fill a gas can for the mower, or go buy a roll of paper towels or something like that we just have to do something just to get out of the house, because it just drives me insane.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I don't. I think the days since the shutdown that I actually have stayed 100% on my own property are less than one hand. I mean, it's just I need to get out. I mean, and I can make the excuse that I need to go on. Early on, it was the excuse that I need to go on the toilet paper hunt, or
Right.
whatever it was. I mean, right? I got to get out there. I mean, but it's different. It changes. I mean, for about 3 days, people were telling me, I mean, you need to get out because you're not going to be able to find any meat. The meat
Right.
processing's going. I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, there's plenty of meat over here. I don't know what you mean.
It's so weird.
Funny. This lady called to the store, and I won't name the place that I work at, but the lady called the store and she goes, "Do you sell freezers?" And I said, "No." She goes, "Well, do you know anybody that does?" And I said, "Well, I mean, ma'am, most typical, big box hardware stores." She goes, "Nope, they're all sold out. I ain't gonna get any till the end of July." And I said, "Well, I don't know what to tell you." And she goes, "Well, this depression is going to be terrible. There's no meat." And I said, "Well, if there's no meat, then why do you need a freezer?" I mean, what?
The whole no meat thing is crazy. I mean,
popsicles and stuff.
I was just at Jungle Jim's the other day, and there was plenty of meat.
I would imagine there is any kind of meat you want. You can probably get tiger meat, old Carol Baskin,
So shifting gears before we kind of start wrapping things up. Dogberry, Made in Flight. You ever had this beer?
I have not. How many do you have? Can you save me one?
I might have like 2 more. I can probably save you one.
All right. Well, I'll drink it next time I'm in the studio.
It is freaking delicious. It's a rye IPA, loaded with Falconer's Flight, and I think something else on the hop side. I don't know what else, but man, it's so good. I love. I think they use a lot of Maris Otter malt over there, and
it's a wonderful malt.
You load up Maris Otter and rye, and I'm in absolute heaven. It's a big.
It's going to be a very malty and crispy.
Yeah.
You should get a lot of malt richness, and then the rye should give you a wonderful snap.
Yeah, it's a great beer, and they have a little October crowler machine that they use to package 16-ounce cans. So they try to keep a bunch of stuff in the cooler to go, and that has, I'm sure, saved their butts in the last couple months.
Well, I mean, we're a little bit late to the party, but I know a winery brewery that is putting an order in for one of them this week.
I think a lot of people are looking at it now that didn't have them, like, oh man, we really need to start thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I've talked about it for a couple of years, and I mean, and the winery has gone through an ownership change too, and so I was able to. I mean, it makes sense, right?
It does.
I mean,
it makes a lot of sense.
If you can get a machine, if you can get the cans, the lids, the labels, and you're able to basically package in a serving or a 32-ounce serving, whatnot, anything you have on tap, it makes sense. Because, I mean, I can't tell you how many times over the past month when I've worked the tasting room where people wanted to take home something that was on tap that, I mean, if you didn't have a growler and we were out of growlers, I mean, they just wanted it. I mean, it just makes sense. And then we have packaged beer that's on the shelf that we don't have on tap. I mean, and so it's just, it's vice versa. Where, oh, can I try that, blood orange pale ale? Well, no, you can't. You could buy it, but I don't have it to try.
So we, on a whole different level with it, we're going camping this next weekend, and when we camp, I don't like to take any kind of glass bottles or anything like that. Not that I couldn't, but it becomes a pain in the ass. And so growlers suck when you're trying to go camping, but crowlers, you can load that cooler up with a bunch of crowlers and it works really well. And so, it kind of changes the use for me of things like that,
Dude, are you going camping with a newborn?
We are. Well, we're cheating camping. It's not real camping. We're camping at her parents' property. So we are, yes,
okay.
There will be a tent set up, and me and the 3-year-old will be in a tent sleeping, and I'm pretty sure my wife and the newborn will be in the house. So it's semi-camping.
Right. Gotcha.
It's basically an excuse for me to sit in the woods and not shower for a few days. Not that I shouldn't be admitting it on the show, or the show that isn't a show. The amount of showering I've done in the last month, I could probably count on one hand. Also, it's one of the. I just keep forgetting about it. I don't know what time of day it is anymore or what's going on. And
but the thing is, you were still working when the whole shutdown happened.
Yeah.
You got
I was showering then.
And now you're like, now you're like, okay, I can take in this experience, but from a person who is, had to adjust when the shutdown happened. There was a few days or a period of a week where I was like, yeah, it's not that important, but I finally got into a thing where I was like, you know what, this is part of the thing that helps organize or keep my day sort of normal. So I put that in as a benchmark of normalcy.
It also starts to kind of starts to lay out a foundation or a framework for your day, be it your shower or sitting down with your cup of coffee in the morning. Like there's these things that you do every day that I think are important to do to kind of make your day a normal day. We have none of that going on.
Well, it's a lot easier too. It's a lot easier too if you're skipping the showers to go ahead and agree to the lunch, beer, and maybe a few more while you're doing said tasks around the house. So, you know what? Screw it. Lunch, beer, and you know what? I'm gonna have another one, and I'm thinking I'm gonna do this task, and you go do your task,
right?
Not so.
Well, the Memorial Day weekend is also the end of my paternity leave, so it's a last hurrah for me of going and just getting really stinky in the woods and drinking and smoking lots of cigars and just existing, before I have to go back to whatever that world looks like, which is a whole other thing of what the world of work is going to look like when I walk back into it.
All right.
Well,
cool, Noam. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you do your thing. And sorry I missed last week.
It's all right. Well,
I will not call in until I miss another week.
You're always welcome to call in. Anybody is always welcome to call in. It makes it a lot easier on me to have somebody to talk to. It gives me a chance to actually sit and drink the beer, because it's a conversation instead of me trying to just stand here and sit here and talk to you guys. I don't get to actually drink the beer that's in front of me as much. So it's nice to have somebody to talk to.
Why don't we shoot for the moon and call out a couple of people? How about Zane Lamprey call into the show?
That might actually happen at some point.
Jim Cook call into the show, and how about Tommy Archer call into the show?
There we go. There's when I first started doing the Weekly Pint, I have lots of brainstorming stuff about what things to do with this show, and a big part of it was to just have people call in, and every week to have somebody call in and be on the show and just sit and talk to that person with people kind of chiming in on the chat. And it kind of drifted away from that, but we may have to get back into that and kind of set up actual interviews with people, especially since I'm actually pretty good about getting it to happen somewhere around 9 o'clock. It's easily predictable, and
it's been pretty. You've been pretty on point. I mean, I wait for my Facebook alert to happen, and then I'm dialed in. I'm up on it. But yeah, you've been pretty good on that, for sure.
Well, Sean says he's multitasking, but it's nice to listen in. So I appreciate people who work us into whatever their routine is during the day. So I like to help however I can. Yeah. And on that note, we're wrapping things up.
All right, buddy.
All right.
Take care. Talk
Marco, good
soon.
luck with. If you need anything, let me know, ma'am.
Always will. Thank you, buddy.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah. So that's the Weekly Pint. Anybody who ever wants to call into the show, you can always call in, and just kind of shoot the shit. It is really the entire point of this. The number is always right there, 567-70-DRINK. Or, if you can't call in during the show, or you listen to this afterwards, because it is up on Facebook for around a day, after it goes live. Or if you're a Nomi, if you support on Patreon, it's up there forever. The video, it's either on Patreon or on the hidden Patreon supporter page on thegnarlygnome.com, wherever you listen to it afterwards. But it's around, or it's actually on YouTube too. I could sneak and give people links to stuff on YouTube. But if you haven't been listening to Prost, that's the other show too. I don't have the only little teaser I have is just the logo. It's Prost. That's where we just kind of hang out and we drink something. This last week, we drank a margarita. We made a margarita, and that was the drink of the week. That took 6 takes or something, because my 3-year-old was insisting on hanging out with me in the basement while I recorded it, and I should actually make some kind of a blooper reel of it where, at one point she kind of, I'm sitting there making a margarita, and you see her little head, just a little fraction of her head kind of walking behind me, and one point she walks over and kind of looks at me and Daddy, who are you talking to? And there's all kinds of really fun outtakes from that one, but I have several other ones recorded, and then I'm planning on doing 2 or 3 more this week to get them ready to go, just so that we've got some banked up. And yeah, so if you haven't been listening to Prost, listen to Prost, and those are pretty easily accessible on thegnarlygnome.com. If you go up to the menu on there on the website, there's a link. I think it just says podcasts, because when I made it, it was just the 2 podcasts. It is under that, even though I recognize Prost. It's not actually a podcast, but that'll change sometime when I get a minute. And yeah, that's that. Cincy Brewcast is every Monday. If you don't subscribe to that, do that and share it with somebody. That's the bigger part. If you guys haven't been sharing the show with somebody that would love the show, please do that. That's how it keeps growing. And the more people that listen to it, the more I can justify doing some of the other fun stuff that I want to. It would be really great if I could finally get some of these ideas off of paper and into your digital world. I don't know, whatever. But yes, please keep supporting, because it's fun trying to make all of this come to life. I appreciate you guys more than you know. Next week's Weekly Pint, there will be one. I don't know if it's going to hit right at 9. Like I said, we're camping, so I don't know when we're coming home. If we're coming home late, it might be late. If we aren't, maybe I'll just broadcast early from around the campfire or something. I don't know. but there will be an episode at some point. So thank you very much. I am the Gnarly Gnome, and this is The Weekly Pint, the show that is not actually a show. Thank you, guys.